wonderful meal and enjoyed your time here at WAF. So now we're going to start with a new panel discussion, and it's about women in politics. Women have been left behind in political position and legislature across Africa, not just in South Africa, but I think South Africa is leading the way. And I would like to ask these honorable mamas over here, Mama Pilisiwe and Mama Chinswalo, to know, to find out from them, are we women progressing or retrogressing?
Thank you once more. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tinsolo Makubele, the Secretary General, SACONO, which means South African Congress of Non-Profit Organizations. So what we have seen happening in South Africa is that prior to 1994, when we all voted for our freedom, women were seen as the hewers, workers, kitchen ladies, hoteliers, not hoteliers, but hotel workers, caretakers. It changed the whole scenario after 1994, where we saw women's struggles growing bigger in terms of finding a place for them in politics, finding the place for us in business, finding the place for us in the workplace. And through these mechanisms that we brought ourselves as women, nobody brought women to the fore, but women pushed their own struggles. Our struggles in South Africa dates back to 1913, 1942, 1956, 1916, where we are, you and I. So, 2016. So for me, women in politics, we cannot run away or shy away. And the way we have brought it as civil society in South Africa, it was through the campaigns. Our campaigns are very strong. If there's something good about South African women, it's the way we put up our fight to make sure that our place, we earn it. In our numbers, you heard our chairperson, Madam Tau, telling us about the statistics. We're not below 45, we're above 45. At some point, we're 51 plus. So you could see that in Parliament, we are well represented. In our society, we are represented, but we still feel it is not enough, because according to voters' roll around the world, women are in the majority. In South Africa, we are 53%. I don't know about the other countries. And if we are 53% in majority, therefore it means we really hold a bigger stake. And it means in leadership, in politics, we need to occupy a similar percentage. That's my view. We are increasing in the boardroom. I think we're now at 30-something, 35, 32% in the boardrooms of directors that are women. And then we're still low in engineering and manufacturing, but there's my sister can attest. I know we are still in our 20-something, which is quite lower, but we are on the rise. Looking at the influence that South African politics have, I think we are a gateway and a test book for the entire continent.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pilisiwe Tau, and I am the chairperson of Women Advancement Forum, and I also represent United Nations Women in the South Africa country office. And basically, when you look at the role of government, it's unfortunate that in Africa and in many countries, when you look at the women's involvement and how they participate in politics, you would want to move away from quotas. But it is what has pushed so far the agenda for us to be able to get to where we are. You would actually expect it to evolve on its own. But we've had to put quotas in countries where you have seen that they have met the 50-50 mark, and they've met women empowerment and involvement in politics, and having women who are particularly involved in the political arena. In South Africa, you've got Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who wound up being in the AU. We've got Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, who is my boss. and of course, this takes a concerted effort from government to actually make sure that we do get to be in that platform. So in legislatures, for example, I said earlier that there are only 3 countries in Africa that have representation of women at the levels that we've got. Other countries don't even have anybody that is represented. But for me, of importance is that how do we place women to be at the right education level politically, for them to be able to represent everybody's needs and our aspirations. You need to have somebody every single week. There has to be a girl, women, young woman agenda in every workplace, in every school, in every church, in every society, because that is what politics is about. Politics is what happens around the society and how society embrace that which you are trying to achieve. So for me, I think that is the role of advocacy, that is the role of education, that is the role of making sure that we keep, because one of the biggest challenges that I think we've got as Africans and as women is that we don't keep data, we don't keep statistics, we don't monitor and evaluate that which we need to be getting to. Finally, I think for as long as we are leaving the agenda for women's empowerment to men, we will never get there as politicians, because right now you find that every time there is an elective conference or there is an election of sorts, be it a national election or any body, every structure, you look at it, women do not vote for other women. If you look at it, they're not voting for other women because they feel that the women are either not going to be good enough, or they're going to have to deal with other house chores. So your husband is okay to go and carry on with their career path, but you have to be balancing the issues around the home, the work, etc., etc. So it has to be something that we champion ourselves as women. And the narrative must be our narrative. It mustn't be a narrative that says, men do this, so we have to do that. It's a narrative that says, this is where we're going, this is what we want to be doing. Thank you.
So I'd like to welcome Dr. Georgina onto our panel and also allow her some time so that she can introduce herself to all our guests.
My name is Dr. Georgiana Ngeri Wanga. I'm one of those who have hyphenated names like the chairperson here.
Will be to Dr. Georgina, and that is to know what makes you, both of you, unique women in your own right, in your own field, and how will you pull young women to follow in your footsteps, and how do they stay right there? And using this power of technology, Twitter, social media, to also bring your work to light, and also you engage more and more with them.
In the morning, the young lady that presented was very brilliant, and she did, put her finger on the fact that education is the most effective way to empower a woman. I feel that you cannot even begin to say anything without, putting all the emphasis you can on education and educating the girl child. Yes. In my country, as in most African countries, as you know, in the past, the patriarchal tradition meant that the education of the girl child was not given as much prominence as that of the male child. But fortunately, that is now being changing. It's now changing, and it's no longer the case. And it's not just enough for females to go to school, but you have to determine to excel in whatever profession you are in. In fact, all the discrimination and all the marginalization women receive from the male counterpart, when they see somebody who is truly brilliant, all that falls away. I used to give people the same example like in the West about due deference to present companies that are not blacks, that they can discriminate against blacks, but when they see a black that excels, do you see any discrimination again? He's immediately given all the respect and prominence he deserves. So I think one of the key things for women is to excel in whatever they are doing. If you go to school, study twice as hard as your male counterparts and excel. If you are in any profession, work twice as hard and excel. Once you excel, the so-called barriers and glass ceilings to your progress will start crumbling across. So that's what I would advise younger girls, that they should excel and take their education seriously, take their career seriously, and whatever they do, show high competence, and there will be no discrimination that can deter them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's the end of our session, and I thank you very much for listening.